The first half of the 2024 season has been filled with crazy stories, including players leaving their teams over disagreements, coaches stepping down, a dislocated finger mid-race, new incredible movements, some new league superstars taking center stage, and much more. We'll get into the details of all of it as we uncover what's happened in 2024 and frame the road ahead, including a fierce battle coming up in Las Vegas to make it to the playoffs in November. Few stories in sports are more of a roller coaster ride than what has happened to the Daytona Venom in the first 2 matches. In the very first race of the season, a referee miscount put the Venom in a situation where they needed to make a decision on how to best move forward under tough conditions. Emotions got hot at the start line as a big disagreement between the coaches of the Venom and star strength specialist Jojo Gomez escalated into a heated exchange. Jojo would later apologize for his reaction, but emotion got heated again after another tough match that ended in Jojo and longtime bodyweight specialist Alex Alvarez switching their elements in a sprint relay race without telling their coaches.
I'm always the bodyweight guy, I always do the lightweight stuff. I never get to touch the barbell. This is that one movement that I'm actually halfway decent at, so we just thought, fuck it, why not?
He's the man.
Just throw me in the overhead squats and see if I can get it done. Got him a little slow, but hey, still got him. Happy with it.
In a post-match team meeting, things started to take a turn as players began leaving in the middle of the meeting. Ultimately, the Venom would put out a statement about the situation, and the end result was several players following Jojo and Alex as they left the team. The remaining players on the team did seem to rally around the situation, and the team was able to mid-season sign a former player who was excited to come back to the team under these new conditions. The Venom got another positive shot in the arm with what happened next. In a true demonstration of the community and sport-first mentality, other teams in the league jumped to help the Venom out. Teams and players began to share the post of the Venom looking to make team signings. Alex Smith received comments and messages from players on other teams mentioning the opportunity. Alec is a 4-time CrossFit Games athlete, twice individual, twice team, an accomplished gymnast, and a former Grid League player having played in the original version of the sport for the Boston Iron as teammate of Fort Lauderdale Lions head coach Jamie Gold. Alec responded to the messages and connected with the coach for the Venom in Paul Behar. Paul gave Alec some testers that featured elements coming up in the Vegas match formats. Alec is coming off of treatment for a hip injury and wanted to make sure he felt solid enough to be able to compete effectively. Clearly, it all worked out, and Alec is signed to the team. Alec stated in a Morning Chalk-Up interview, "I love grid. I actually like it even more than CrossFit. It's so fast-paced and really high skill. It's everything I love to do." The team has a whole new vibe heading into Las Vegas, but they did take some hits in the strength department on both the male and female side in the team transition. It will be fun to see how they work through those challenges with an instant star in the league now backing the team performance. The Venom will be taking on the Breakers and the Brigade in Las Vegas. In a season where the star talent on the team, Jess Kresman, entered the year pregnant, the Brigade were met with some really tough news to start the season. Their longtime head coach and team co-founder Chris Garand resigned somewhat unexpectedly, citing family obligations as the reason for not being able to move forward. Kresman was left to manage preparing the team while pregnant, and having never been in that role before, close friend and teammate Marissa Oxenford stepped up to help where she could. But the problem remained that Jess's due date would fall in the middle of the season, leaving the team with no leadership in the Vegas event and beyond. Not sure what to do, Jess began reaching out to people to help in the coaching role and step in when she would need to step away to give birth. Enter Thomas Pasenda. Thomas had been involved with Grid League as a referee in the early days and is very familiar with the sport and has always had an appreciation for it. He had taken time away from the sport to focus on building a business, but had recently had some time open up and took on the chance to help the team out. He quickly dove in and has had massive positive impact on the team, bringing strategy, stability, and leadership the team sorely needed. Another big positive for the team is a few 2024 rookies that have had incredible impact. Rebecca Rouse was originally signed for her elite weightlifting ability, but quickly began soaking up other roles using her skills acquired as a former gymnast and stepping up in key spots as the team needs. Another former gymnast invest in Hannah Bissett is also having massive impact as the now smallest player in the league, bringing blazing speed to bodyweight elements and deepening even further an already deep gymnastics side of the roster. Alongside Chris Chaffee and Marissa Oxenford, the Brigade are 1-1 and in a good position to make a run at the playoffs with their what appears to be strong team cohesion and enhanced rookie roster. That said, Vegas will be the first matches ever without Jess Kresman present in the history of the team. It will be interesting to see how it all plays out. The Brigade will be taking on the Venom and the Wild in Las Vegas. The Wild tout what many believe to be the strongest set of players in the league. 2023 Rookie of the Year, Griffin Raleigh. Utility Player of the Year in Amanda Fisher, 2021 Strength Specialist of the Year Blake Kidder, and one of the biggest strength stars in the league in Sydney Wilson sit at the top of a long list of exceptionally strong players. That strength showed up big in Week 1 with a big victory over the Venom. Week 2 was a different story as they fell short to the defending champion Aces amid some mistakes and bodyweight element holes. That said, with no public drama among the team, what appears to be a very strong team dynamic, and a ton of high-level competition experience in multiple disciplines, they are well positioned to ride their strength advantages into a playoff run through the Las Vegas event. In that event, Sydney Wilson will be facing her former team in the Brigade, and another pivotal Wild player in Vilma Rosario will be facing her former team in the Palm Beach Breakers. The Breakers had big hopes early on with great balance across the skill requirements of a grid league team after the signing period was over. Those hopes took a shot when a few key injuries took place before the first race ever even started. In addition, as two experienced players from other teams rose into leadership roles on the team in Sophia Davenport and Josh Rundle, so did conflict among team leadership. Rundle and assistant coach Angel Rodriguez didn't see eye to eye, and it ultimately led to Rundle leaving the team before the second match. On the positive side, the vacancies left on the team allowed room for some powerhouse mid-season signings that immediately had big positive impact. Roran Scott is great friends with reigning Strength Specialist of the Year, Vida Vetterkind, and joined the team as one of the most experienced and well-rounded utility players in the league. In addition, the married couple from Alabama, in Shay and Joshua Newell, brought a new connection in Evan Newman, who has a wide range of talent and clear grid speed. The Newells also appear to have brought emotional leadership and an infectious enthusiasm for the sport. This, in addition to second-year player Bethany Jackson and her counterpart, rookie bodyweight specialist Reese Lyons, both looking like rock stars, have left some big things to feel positive about for the team. The team has found recent stability and made strides, and while they are 0-2, their last match was a tight one with one of the favorites to win the whole thing in the Southwest Florida Sharks, who are atop the league in standings. The Breakers will be facing the Wild and the Venom in Las Vegas. The South Beach Palms came into this season with one of the better sets of core female players that have been together for years now. While they appeared to also have a great returning core on the male side early on, things took a turn before the season as they lost two longtime players in Brett Henry and Cody Schaefer to life situations before the first match. The only two returning male players on the roster ended up being Marcus Washington and Brandon Shipper. In addition, the assistant coach brought in to replace longtime coach Cody Landrum didn't end up working out for the team. The Palms historically run on small rosters and depend heavily on their stars, but this scenario was a bit too much even for them, and forced them to get creative to fill holes in the first two matches with various single match and mid-season signings on the male side. They will enter the Vegas event 1-1 with no assistant coach and three players that have never before set foot on the grid. Their deep female roster, including best friends and powerhouse utility player stars in Briley Hansen and Heather Hudson, will always keep them in matches. It will just come down to how their new male talent and mid-season signing roster steps up to help the team against a tough set of matches in the defending champ Orlando Aces and league-leading Southwest Florida Sharks. The Orlando Aces came into this season having had a historic 2023 season as the first team ever to go 6-0 and win the championship. They tout the back-to-back coaches of the year in Taylor Stallings and Terry Howard, and the reigning MVP in Ryan DeMatti. They did have a bit of reshuffling of the roster in the offseason, but most of the core is still there. In the first match of the year, it became apparent how talented and gritty their new crop of rookies are, with some incredible performances from them. None bigger than Callan Ambrosio, who dislocated his finger mid-race, paused to pop it back in, and kept going in the race. An incredible display of grit on the grid. Jasmine Simpson also stepped up in some very key roles, and the Aces relied heavily on her. That said, that first match did have some key faults and mistakes that cost them and led to a big point differential loss to the hot Southwest Florida Sharks. They bounced back in week 2 and put together a solid win against the strong Atlanta Wild. Heading into Vegas, they have some ground to make up in the standings to get into the playoffs, but will face 2 of the teams they need to overcome in the Palms and the Lions. The Fort Lauderdale Lions have the most championship appearances at 4 and the most championship wins at 3. This is in large part due to their extremely consistent year-over-year, star-studded roster including 2 former MVPs in Eric Cardona and Paul Elias. Head coach Jamie Gold is a former player herself and has been with the Lions through their entire run. Midway through the season this year, they are well positioned to continue their playoff success at 2-0 and only behind the Sharks in the standings. As they enter the Vegas event, they do have a tall order ahead of them with the defending champion Aces and the leading Southwest Florida Sharks set to face them in the event. The winner of the Sharks-Lions match on day 1 will clinch their playoff spot as a result. The only team to beat the Sharks in 2023 was the eventual champion Orlando Aces, who did it twice. In the offseason, big transitions happened for the team, including a new head coach, who is a former player in Francisco Gomez. Fico pulled the majority of the Sharks star talent back into the team, including former MVP Sammy Nally and recently announced partner to Sammy in Nick Shappy. In addition, he pulled star talent from other teams, deepening the roster with experienced players that have paid off in big ways so far in the season. They kicked off the season with a big win over their nemesis in the Aces and have rode that momentum so far to be atop the league in the standings. That said, they are well known to take a unique approach to match preparation with no in-person practices at all. They will be facing 2 well-practiced teams in the Palms and the Lions, and it will be interesting to see if their experience and raw talent can propel them to their second playoff appearance in as many years.